Welcome, everybody. This is a sticksandstuffpodcast.com. We are at 29 North today. What is 29 North? 29 North is a wine bar. Also happens to serve craft beer. And it also happens to be a art studio. I mean, it's neat. It's an art gallery. It's got everything in the world. Great craft beer, great wines, all local wines from Georgia. But what we're really here today for, we are here to talk to people about the Songwriters Festival, which occurs every May. They're planning a new one for next year in May in Ellijay, Georgia. And we have a terrific songwriter today here. He is a prolific songwriter. And if you've ever heard of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, it is the one and only John Cable. Welcome, John.
And the crowd goes wild.
John, I want you to tell us a little bit about, your career, how you got started,
Just you're going to be my therapist today.
I'm going to be your therapist. We're going to sit here and talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I was raised by musicians. My mother went to Juilliard. She was a concert pianist.
Wow.
Father was a college band director. Oddly enough, my mother told me that I should go into something more stable like acting. That was a direct quote from my mother.
So
acting is more stable.
Your dad was a band director?
Yes.
Kind of a Dan Fogelberg type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
He was never my band director, but he was definitely a band director. But, so it's in my DNA. Music has always been there. And so I went to college in the summer of 67 after I got out of high school. And all I did was go around and play the coffee houses.
Oh, that's cool.
Occasionally I'd go to class, but not enough to really make a difference. And, Vietnam was at its height. And of course I was in line, and I failed my draft physical because of asthma, which I have since outgrown. But as soon as I flunked my draft physical, I thought, well, this is a pretty good time for me to drop out of college and go on the road, which is exactly what I did. I took a duffel bag full of clothes and stuff and my guitar, and I headed to Colorado in 1968. I was 19 years old, never looked back.
That's awesome.
And started playing the ski areas and summer resorts and, Steamboat Springs in the summer, and all these little bars. There were times when I had to literally sleep in the place that I was playing because I didn't have a place to stay.
Wow, that's
so the
great.
Bars would just say, well, just stay here tonight, and you're going to be playing tomorrow night anyway. So I did that from 68 to like 71. Got in a band, and we started kind of touring around, and did a little bit of stuff. Played few of the pop festivals back in 71, like the Oklahoma City Pop Festival, things like that.
Oh, that's real cool.
Yeah, and we were just kids, just starting out. We didn't know my butt from a hole in the ground at that time, but that's about when I started writing songs, and I went to Denver. I'd been living in the mountains in Colorado. I just lived up there and would travel from one town to another. And I decided, well, I probably need to get to Denver because I need to have a career, and I'm not going to have a career just playing bars the rest of my life. So I moved to Denver, and I started playing in the bigger venues there. I had some friends who got me kind of involved in some of the nicer places to play. And I started making a little noise. About 1972, a band that I had known in college. I went to college in Lubbock, Texas. I was born and raised in Texas.
In Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas. I went to Texas
Good
Tech.
job.
And there was a folk trio there that had been signed to a booking agency in Colorado. And they had a girl singer who was a Mormon, and she wanted to leave and go have babies. That was literal. That was her quote. I want to go. I don't want to be a musician anymore. I want to go get married and have babies. And they had just signed this booking contract with this.
No way.
And so one of the guys came and found me, and because we had known each other in Lubbock, and he said, "Hey, we lost Susan. Are you interested in coming and playing? We've signed this booking." And the booking agency handled Ry Cooder, Randy Newman, the Dirt Band, Steve Martin, John Hartford, the Dillards.
Wow.
All of and I was like, hell yeah. You kidding me? So I jumped on board. We went and auditioned for the agency because they wanted to see what if we were going to be as good as the trio. And that was it. We were off and running. They put us on the road with the Dirt Band and Steve Martin.
Wow.
And we would open, and Steve would be second. He hadn't quite broken yet.
Was he doing his banjo thing?
He was doing the balloon heads, the banjo, all that stuff. And but he had not quite broken through yet. So it was my little band from Texas, Colors, and then Steve, and then the Dirt Band. Well,
wow.
after about a year of that, Steve exploded. And then it became us and the Dirt Band and Steve. And the venues went from 6,000 to 20,000.
Wow. So
just in that 3.5 years, my little band from Texas did, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 shows with the Dirt Band. We opened for Randy Newman. We played with Ry Cooder. We had really an incredible run.
That is an incredible run. How'd you end up with the Dirt Band?
Well, because we were on the road with them all the time.
Oh, okay.
I got to be really good friends with John McEwen, who I still play with occasionally. I've been on the road with him pretty much full time for the last 7 years. And about a year ago, I said, I want to get a new record out. I want to promote it. I want to do it upright, and I can't do that and play with you at the same time. So he graciously said, I understand, go for it. I still do shows with him occasionally. But anyway, so John and I got to be really good friends through me playing in Colors. And Jeff Hanna and I kind of hit it off. And they fired Jimmy Ibbotson. And Jimmy Ibbotson was the most talented human being in that band ever. He was the best singer. He was the best songwriter. He was a multi-instrumentalist. But you never knew which Jimmy Ibbotson was going to show up.
A lot of that happens with band dynamics, doesn't it?
Yeah. And they had the most success with him, but they just couldn't. It was an untenable situation. So I was having dinner one night. We were home, and the Dirt Band's road manager had called me up and said, "Hey, you want to go to dinner?" I said, "Sure." So we're at dinner, and he said, "Man, they had to fire Ibbotson." I said, "What? What?" I couldn't believe it. He said, "Yeah, man." And he told me that, because I had seen some of Jimmy's antics, so I kind of got it. But he said, "Yeah, we need a bass player, man. We really need a bass player and another guitar player really bad." I said, "Well, I can play bass." Never really picked one up, but I figured how hard could it be? And he said, "Really? You play bass?" I said, "Yeah, I can play bass." He said, "Well, let me call the guys." So he called Jeff and John, and they said, "Oh, we'd love to have Cable. He'd be great. We all get along. We like him. He's a good guy." So I went and borrowed a bass and bought a couple of Dirt Band. I didn't even own a Dirt Band record. So I borrowed a couple of Dirt Band records, and I woodshedded for a couple of weeks, and they brought me up for rehearsals and kind of an audition, sort of. And I was in the band after that.
Playing bass?
Yeah, I played bass. Well, I played lead guitar and bass and sang background vocals because they already knew I could play guitar because I was the lead guitarist in my other band. So that's how that all started. And then I was unceremoniously fired by Jeff Hanna in 1977.
No way.
But in the meantime, we'd had a pretty good run. We were doing Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City with ZZ Top, and
wow.
we did Galax, Virginia for 300,000 people, and we had a good run with the Dirt Band. But yeah, I still don't know to this day why I was fired. McEwen has one story. Jeff has never said anything, so I really don't know. But it's okay, because I immediately went into a band that was. We were real good friends with Michael Murphy, the guy that did Wildfire. You remember Wildfire?
Right.
Well, my best friend in the world was his lead guitar player, and so. And Michael was on the road with us too, the Dirt Band. It was a symbiotic kind of musical relationship. So I knew all that band really well, and they hated playing with Murphy. So when we were home, we all lived in Denver. So when we were all home, we would go out and play clubs in Denver, me and Michael Murphy's band. Now this band the bass player ended up being Michael Jackson's band leader on the Victory Tour.
That's crazy.
So he was a bad man on the bass.
That sounds like it.
The drummer was famous for playing with Larry Coryell, who's a great jazz guitarist. This was a heavy band full of really good players. And my best friend and I were writing a bunch of songs, so we started playing them for those guys, and they're like, hell yeah, man, let's do this. So one night we're playing in this club in Denver, and this guy named Jimmy Guercio shows up. Well, Jimmy Guercio was the manager of the Beach Boys and Chicago, and he owned Caribou Ranch, which is a famous recording studio in Colorado and outside Nederland. It's actually a 200,000-acre ranch, working ranch, that he built a studio in. Elton John recorded there, the Stones recorded, everybody, Fogelberg that you mentioned, everybody recorded in this studio. And Jimmy heard us in this bar, and he said, hey, man, I want to put you on my label. So he sent us up to Caribou Ranch for a month, free of charge, living in the bunkhouse. If we wanted, I don't know, fresh oysters at 4 a.m, we would just call down to the kitchen.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was incredible.
That's great.
Unfortunately, when we were there for a month, we didn't really get a lot done. The band was just, nobody really knew what we wanted to be. And in that time frame, the Beach Boys sued Jimmy for mismanagement. And it was a $10 million lawsuit in 1978. So that's pretty good money in 1978.
That was big money back in 78.
Yeah.
It sure was.
And the lead singer for Chicago, Terry Kath, accidentally, I think it was an accident, shot himself in the head, and he died. And he was like the major force for Chicago. So this happened when we were at Caribou Ranch.
Wow.
And Jimmy just said, man, I ain't got time for this. I got stuff I got to worry about. So
tell me about songwriting, writing a song. I talk to a lot of songwriters, and and everybody's different. Everybody does it a different way.
Yes.
Some people that just like boom, a little melody, hits their head, and then they're off and gone with it.
Right.
Tell me about your songwriting.
Okay.
What makes it click for you?
First of all, you have to be aware of what's going on around you. And the inspiration can come from anywhere if you're paying attention. And I just pay attention. And it may be somebody says something interesting, or I'm sitting with my guitar and I find a thing I've never found before that leads me into a melody. It can be lyrics or it can be melody. It's just whatever. One day I was driving from Rockwall, Texas to my mother's house in Ennis, Texas, which is a 50-mile drive, a lyric popped into my head, and I wrote an entire song from the time I got from my house to her house in my head. And I raced in and wrote it all down, and I've never changed a word of it. So you just never know.
You know, I started doing that when I was traveling a lot, and a song would, you know, like pop into my mind, and I'm going like, I'm going to forget it. And most of the time I would forget it.
Right. Yeah.
So I bought a little recorder to just start, you know,
That's
and at
what you
least
do.
I would get
Yeah.
the bass of the song,
That's
and then, you know.
Most important thing.
Right.
The other thing I tell people is I taught songwriting at the Frank Hamilton School in Atlanta a couple of years ago, well, several years ago, before I started touring with John. And one of the main things I say is, you know, a lot of stuff happens in your brain right before you go to sleep. And if something like that comes into your, I mean, I've had symphonies come into my head before I go to sleep. And if you have to get up and get a pencil and get a piece of paper or get a recorder. You have to force yourself to get out of that twilight and capture it. Because if you don't, in the morning, it's going to be, you always think, oh, I'll remember that. It's way too cool. And you get up in the morning and you're like, what the hell was that?
Now that's a songwriter right there. You know, he's got a symphony right before he goes to sleep. I usually have a herd of cows. But I mean, you know, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, that's the way it goes. My producer is telling me that we've got somebody calling in. You know, Bob from Alpharetta's on the line. Bob wants to know, who's this John Cable guy, and what's he doing talking about songs, and songwriting, and bands, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, this is a podcast, and we don't just talk about cigars. We don't just talk about bourbon. We have guests on the show, Bob, so you need to get with the deal. But anyway, we don't take callers anyway, so take a hike, Bob, and now back to the show.
Poor Bob.
Poor Bob. You know,
Man.
Bob's going to learn one of these days. I just, you know, he just is.
Poor guy. Well, you know, some people just are a little slower to get the program than others, I guess. Oh, well.
What's going on these days? You told me you had an album that you're trying to work on, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, the album is finished. It's been released. I had a CD release party in Atlanta in June. I'm going to have another one in Denver in August.
That's great.
In just a couple of weeks, actually. I'm going out there. And some of the guys from that band that I was talking about at Caribou Ranch are going to be playing with me. We have
Now, is that the Chicken Ranch or the Caribou Ranch?
Caribou Ranch.
Okay, I'm just
the
asking.
Chicken Ranch, yeah, kind of went a long way around that place. Yeah, Caribou Ranch. Yeah, so some of those guys are going to be playing with me. It's going to be great. But you know, I'm playing around a little bit. I'm headed, like I said, I'm headed out to Denver. I've got some requests to go up to Portland and in Oregon and Washington State. I'll be doing some more shows with John McEwen.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I'm just...
Well, I can tell you, we are so lucky and fortunate to have you here and come through Ellijay every May for the Songwriters Festival. And we couldn't be more happy that you come and play some tunes, and we hear some of your great songwriting.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, the Songwriter Festival here is one of the nicest I've been to. And, you know, we've got such great local people like Robin and Afton and Mark Miller. And we introduced everybody to Pat Terry. This past one, Pat is a legendary songwriter in Nashville, Travis Tritt, John Anderson, Tanya Tucker. They've all recorded some of Pat's songs, and he's fantastic. Really good friend of ours. You know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think as the last two have happened, this one is going to be really special. I think there are going to be some great people here. playing their songs.
That's fantastic. I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. I've enjoyed having you on the podcast
I have
today.
enjoyed being here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Sticks and stuff, y'all. Sticks and stuff is on the way. I said sticks and stuff, y'all. Sticks and stuff is on the way. I know everybody will tune in this Thursday. Gonna take it down now. I'm gonna talk about cigars, some bourbon and some wine, then have a guest host and have a good time. I'm talking sticks and stuff. It's gonna be a good time. I'm talking sticks and stuff. It's gonna be a good time. Sticks and stuff, baby.